Hi everybody, it's Kari Jones here, and I'm going to read chapters 7 and 8 of Out of Season, which is a book in the Orca Currents series published by Orca Publishers. Chapter 7. I gulp air before my head submerges. With my left hand, I swing the paddle alongside the kayak, then I grab it with my right hand. I flick my hips and push on the paddle. The boat slides under me and rolls upright. My head pops out of the water. I take a deep breath. "Dad!" I shout. "I'm right here. Good job, Maya. That was a great roll." I can only nod in response. Dad climbs back onto the stern of my boat and I paddle again. When we reach the shore, I'm so cold and exhausted I can't pull the kayak out of the water. Saul wades out as we approach. He helps Dad slide off the stern. Together, they stagger to shore. Saul has lit a fire. He sits Dad down next to it, then comes back to help me. "Good job, Maya," he says. I hand him my paddle. My hands are numb. I can't pull myself out of the boat. Saul leans over and puts his arms under mine. He lifts me out of my boat and carries me to shore. I let him. I sink down next to Dad. Both of us reach our hands towards the fire. It's all we can do. Saul pulls at our clothes, takes off our wet sweaters and shoes. Dad and I sit like rag dolls. My body is numb, but my mind whirls. "Who were those people, Dad?" I ask. "What were they doing? Why did he fight with you? Why did they take your boat?" Saul hands Dad his dry hoodie, then takes my hand and rubs it between his hands. My fingers flush with pain as blood rushes back into them. Saul says, "The men are poachers. They've been cruising the coast all summer. They get into people's traps. They've been seen diving around here for sea urchins." He takes my other hand and rubs again. "They mean business, Maya. They probably planned to take Dad's boat. Josh Hampel had his tamper motored with. The Jacksons' nets were slashed. Our crab traps were emptied. That's how we found out about them." He pauses, then says, "And we've seen them swamp sleep kayakers in their wake." Dad nods. "Saul's right. You shouldn't be here." "Why didn't you tell me?" I ask. My heart feels cold. Saul and Dad look at each other. "Because we knew you'd try to help. We thought you'd worry about all the animals around here. We thought you'd try to get close to them and end up swamped. Or worse. We didn't want you to worry." Dad reached out to put his hand on my shoulder. I lean away. "Or to help," says Saul. "You didn't trust me?" I ask. The tears that threaten to spill out of my eyes are angry. Dad sighs. He turns away. "What are we going to do?" he says. He slumps over with his head in his hands. Saul looks out to the bay. The look on his face is bleak. Things couldn't be worse. Dad and Saul have lost their boat. Dad found out that I came out of my kayak even though he told me not to. Sooner or later he's going to ask me what I was doing. There are poachers out there, and to top it off, Saul and Dad didn't trust me enough to tell me. The thought makes me choke. Only my exhaustion keeps me from screaming at them. I stare out at the bay. I can't see the sea otters, but I know they're out there. The chill in my heart turns colder. The sea otters are in this bay because there are a bed of sea urchins here. If the poachers are diving for sea urchins, they'll find the sea otters. Things are going to get even worse. A boat turns into the bay. Saul wades out to the water and waves them towards us. "Mark, over here!" It's the Coast Guard. The three of us huddle in the wind as the boat speeds back to town. Mark unscrews the thermos and pours something hot into the lid. He hands it to Dad. "You went after the poachers, didn't you?" he said. Dad nods. "I told you to leave it to us. You shouldn't be out there." Dad and I catch each other's eye. He leans over. Here it comes. He's going to ask me what I was doing. What am I going to say? Normally I'd tell him the truth. Not today. If they don't trust me, why should I trust them? Instead of asking me anything, he puts his arm around me. "I guess we've both been caught, eh?" I nod. "But no more disobeying me, okay? We're agreed you'll stay away?" Dad is worried about the poachers. He's upset about losing his boat. He's cold and shocked and warm. Losing his boat is one of the worst things that can happen to him. The last things he needs is to worry about me. So I nod again. This time I'm not sure if I'm lying. I can't stop thinking about Gertrude and Oscar and Lily. If the poachers find them, what will they do? Will they shoot them? How am I going to keep the poachers away from the sea otters? I lean away from Dad's embrace. It might not be possible to stay away from Riley Bay. How come you haven't caught the poachers? I ask Mark. My voice comes out harsh and angry. If you were doing your job, none of this would happen. I don't know if it's the Coast Guard I'm angry with, but I can't shout at Dad when he's so down. Maya, says Dad. It's okay, Jerry. I understand why she's upset. The thing is, Maya, we can't accuse someone of poaching unless we catch them doing something illegal, or we find a legal catch on board. So catch them, I say. Saul laughs, as if. It's not that easy, Maya. You saw what they're like. I can see from their faces that this is what they all believe. I stand up and walk to the other side of the boat. There must be something we can do. Chapter 8. Mom freaks out about everything. Poachers, she says. What are they looking for? Why would they steal the boat? What are we going to do? She doesn't forget to ask, what were you doing out there, young lady? You were supposed to be at school. I'm about to confess. She's so upset and Dad still looks like a zombie. I can't bear to lie to them anymore. I'm about to tell them anything when Saul walks in. Dad, what are we going to do without a boat? He says. He slumps onto the sofa and drops his head into his hands. Dad closes his eyes and takes a deep breath and says, the Coast Guard will get the boat back in no time. We'll be fine. None of us believes it, not even Dad. He shakes his head and sinks down beside Saul. Mum and I don't move. Dad's worked hard to afford that boat, and I don't want to think about what will happen if the Coast Guard can't find it. Dinner is so quiet. We can hear the tide lap at the shore. Mum eats slowly as if she's thinking. Dad slumps against the table and hardly eats at all. Saul stares at the candle in the center of the table. He shovels his food in without stopping. I eat, but I can't taste anything. When we have finished with dinner, Mom clears the table and returns with 4 bowls and a tub of ice cream. We need this tonight, I think, she says. Dad sighs. I don't know what we're going to do. I put everything into that boat. Maybe I can get a job at the library, Mum says with a smile. We all know she won't make enough money to support the family and buy a new boat. You can't give up yet, Saul says to Dad. There has to be something we can do. He flings his spoon into his bowl and sinks back into his chair. Dad says, I'll talk to the Coast Guard. I'll head over there right now. Maybe they'll find the boat. He leans over and puts his arm on Saul's shoulder. It's a start, eh? Saul nods but doesn't look up until after Mum and Dad are gone. Saul and I sit and listen to the car drive away. When we can't hear it anymore, Saul pushes his chair from the table and leaves the room. I go to my room and lie on my bed. I stare at the ceiling. This morning I was worried about the sea otters and that was all. I'm still concerned about them, even more now that I know there are poachers out there. But now I'm also anxious about my family. How are we going to survive without a boat? What's Dad going to do? I'm sure that Dad's upset for Saul too. He was so excited that Saul was going to work with him this year. Now they're both out of work. Dad must feel terrible about that. I roll over and bury my face in my pillow. I drift in and out of sleep. At some point I dream I'm playing with sea otters and Dad's beside me in his own kayak. I wake up. For a moment I'm happy, then I remember what's happening. I wonder if I should tell Dad about the sea otters. It might make him feel better. But why should I make him feel better when he doesn't trust me? He's lost everything. The truth hits me in the stomach. I lean over the bed and retch. The stench fills the room. We've all lost everything. When my stomach settles, I get a rag from the bathroom and clean up my mess. A million thoughts run through my head. So many I can't hold on to any of them, except one. All night, the thought grows in my head. When I get out of bed in the morning, I have a plan. It could backfire. I'm not sure if I should tell anybody about it. I walk down the stairs, still undecided. It's strange to eat breakfast with Saul and Dad. They're usually long gone by now. Dad hasn't shaved. He sits in his housecoat and shovels his eggs. He doesn't look at me when I walk into the room. Good morning, I say. He looks up and grunts. Saul sits in his sweatpants and stares out across the room. What did the Coast Guard say? I ask Mum, since she actually smiles at me. She shakes her head. Nothing useful. As usual, says Saul. Dad gives Saul a stern look. Enough. Mark works hard. There's no other conversation at the table. The silence sits on our shoulders. By the time I'm finished my eggs, I've made up my mind. I can't let my family go on like this, even if they don't trust me. It's unbearable. I have a plan, I say. Everyone looks at me. I take a deep breath and start. There are sea otters out here. They've been here for a week. I've gone out every morning to make sure they're okay. Mum and Saul both lean forward. What if we let it out that there are sea otters around here that are eating from a bed of sea urchins bigger than any other on the coast? The poachers will come looking, but we'll be there. Dad and Saul exchange glances. Dad gets up and walks around the table. None of us speaks as he paces around. Finally he says, "It's an excellent idea, Maya. We'll hide under the tree branches and wait till they come. It's brilliant. We'll let the Coast Guard know and all the fishermen. We'll have a whole fleet of boats nearby in case they try to run for it." My heart sinks. Dad thinks that's a good idea. That's great. But now I know for sure I've put the sea otters at risk. The thought of Gertrude and Oscar and Lily getting hurt makes my skin prickle. "Wait," I say. "Before I tell you where the sea otters are, you have to promise to take care of them. I don't want anything happening to them." Dad and Mum both nod. "Of course we will," says Dad. "Don't you trust us?" says Saul. I look him in the eye. "Now you know how it feels," I say. Mum says she's right, you know. We all look at her in surprise. "They didn't tell me either, Maya, so I know how you feel." She catches Dad's eye. He turns away, then Mum asks, "Where are the sea otters, Maya?" "They're in Riley Bay, where Saul was standing sentry." Dad laughs. Saul says, "So that's why you were there." He shakes his head. Dad rubs his hand along his chin. "Time to shave. I'll go to the Coast Guard office and tell them the plan. Then I'll go to the docks and talk about the sea otters." "You should get to school, Maya. You can let people know about the sea otters there," says Mum. "I'll go to the grocery store and talk about the sea otters in town." Saul looks at me with a frown on his face. "What?" I ask, but he shrugs and walks away. I stay at the table. It feels good to have a plan, but I'm worried that I've done the wrong thing. What will happen if something happens to Gertrude or to Lily or to Oscar? I'll never forgive myself. And that is the end of chapter 8 of Out of Season.